This video is for Math 70, and this is about the slope-intercept form of the equation for a line. So we talked about the slope and how to find it using this equation, change in y's over change in x's, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then that slope appears here in the slope-intercept form of the equation, and the y-intercept appears here. So, let's see. On the assignment here, we've got two sections. In the first section, I give you the slope and a point on the line and ask you to find the equation. In the second part, I just give you 2 points on the line, and then you have to find the slope, and then you have to find the equation for the line. So let's go over these. I'll do the even problems. Problem 2. We've got m equals 2, and we know that the point -1, 3 is on the line. So we know that the line is going to be y equals 2x plus something. And the question is, what is the value of b? To find out, we can take these x and y values and plug them into the equation. And then there's only going to be one variable left, b. So we can solve for that. So the y is 3. The x is -1. So 3 is -2 plus b. Add the 2 to both sides. b equals 5. So the equation we want is y equals 2x plus 5. And that's the answer, and that's the way you should express your answer. Okay? If you stop here, it's like you've done 90 to 95% of the problem. To get 100%, then you want to actually write the equation down. Okay. Let's look at a few more here. Problem 4. We've got a slope of -0.5, and we know that the point 2, -4 is on the line. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did here. Start out by saying, well, this is going to be y equals -0.5x plus b. And then I'll plug in these values for x and y. The y is -4 when the x is 2. So -4 equals, looks like -1 plus b. So then we have to add the 1 to both sides. -3 equals b. So, I don't want to circle that. I don't want to give you the mistaken impression that that is the final answer, because it is not. Right? Now we have to say y equals -0.5x minus 3, and there's our final answer on that one. Okay. Problem 6. Okay. Slope is 4/3, and it passes through the point 5, -2. Alright, so again, this is y equals 4/3 x plus b. Plug in the -2 for the y and the 5 for the x. So let's see here, -2, and this is going to be 20/3. So if you are a decimals person, you know, this is going to be 6 2/3, or, you know, 6.6 repeating. And so it's important to remember that repeating part, okay? People have this habit of just wanting to round things off. There's no reason to do that, and I think that it's really helpful to understand the difference between a repeating decimal and a terminating decimal, okay? All right, in any event, we're going to subtract 20/3 from both sides. Those cancel out. Over here, this is -6/3 and -20/3, so that'll be -26/3. And again, if you're a decimals person, what is that going to be? -8.6 repeating. Okay? And those are both correct. If you don't put the bar over the 6, then it's a different number, which is not correct. Okay? And so So I don't have any problem with you using decimals so long as you understand how to use them correctly. All right, let's see here. So our final answer should be y equals 4/3 x minus 26/3, and we can just leave it like that. And, you know, if you want to do this with decimals, you could say y equals 1.3 repeating x minus 8.6 repeating. That's also correct, okay? There's nothing wrong with those. I think I talked in the last video about the benefit of having the slope as a fraction, because this tells you how many places to go up, and that tells you how many places to go over. So that's really helpful if you need to graph this equation. If you don't need to graph it, then there's really no difference between the fractions and the decimals. All right, problem 8. M equals 3, and passing through the point, -1, -7. So, let's see here, y equals 3x plus b. Then we'll plug in the -7 for the y and the -1 for the x. So -7 is -3 plus b. And then we add 3 to both sides. So b is -4. So our answer here is y equals 3x minus 4. Okay. Let's see here. Problem 10. -1/3. Passing through the point 0, 4. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I'll go ahead and write this down. Y equals -1/3 x plus b. Now, we could go through this work, and I'll probably do it in a minute, but one thing I want to point out to you, this is the y-intercept. If x is 0, y is 4. This is telling us that the y-intercept is going to be positive 4. If you're given a point where x is 0, this is the y-intercept right here. That's going to be the value for b. And we could go ahead and substitute. 4 is -1/3 times 0 plus b. We don't need to move anything around because that is just going to be 0. And again, I won't circle this actually because this is the final answer that I want you to get in the habit of giving. Okay. All right, problem 12. Let's see what we've got. Slope is 1, and passing through the point -8, +3. And sometimes I think it's a good idea to sketch a little graph for yourself so you can see what's happening. -8, +3, and then you've got a slope of 1. Your line's doing something like this, okay? And that can give you an idea as to whether or not your calculated value for b actually matches what you're seeing from the graph. All right, so our equation is going to be y equals 1x plus b. Then we plug in the 3 for the y and -8 for the x. And then we add 8 to both sides, so b equals 11. So our equation is y equals x plus 11. You can put the 1 in front of the x if you want to. You don't have to. It's correct either way. And that does kind of match with what we're seeing here. Okay? You know, if we got an answer of -11, then that would contradict what we're seeing in this little sketch right here. Okay. Now let's look at the problems on the bottom of the page. In these ones, we have to find the slope first, and then, once we know that, we can go through the process that I was just showing you for these problems. All right, problem 14. The 2 points we've got are 3, 7 and -3, 4. Let's see. Something like that. Okay, so that's just a rough sketch, but it gives us an idea for what that line is going to look like. So first let's find the slope. So we do the change in y's over the change in x's, right? If I start with the 7 on top, I've got to start with the 3 on the bottom. And also, don't forget, this minus sign comes from the formula. This minus sign comes from the value of x. So on top, we get 3. On the bottom, we get 6. You should always reduce your fractions. Our answer is 1/2. You can use 0.5 if you'd like. It's not going to make it different. Okay, so now we're at the stage where we can do what we were doing in the top half of the page. We've got the slope, so we know the equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus something. So let's plug in these 2 points. Let's see, 7 for the y, 3 for the x. So that's 1.5 plus b. Subtract 1.5 on both sides. Looks like b is going to be 5.5. And that's fine. That matches up pretty well with what we're seeing there. So our equation should be y equals 1/2 x plus 5.5. And there we go. And like I said, you can call that 0.5 x if you prefer. Doesn't make any difference in that situation. All right. Problem 16. We've got -1, 6, and 1, 2. Okay, and this type of problem, this type of problem in particular, is really kind of representative of a type of problem in mathematics where it's not just, it's not just plug in the values, calculate the slope. We talked about that. We did that on a previous assignment. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that at all, and I think that it's good to practice that. But this type of problem puts it together, okay, with these other concepts. So first, yeah, we have to use this formula effectively to find the slope. But then we have to understand the place that the slope has in the slope-intercept equation, and then use that information together with the previous information to find the y-intercept. And then we have to remember to bring it all together, right? Bring it all together at the end, write it all out in slope-intercept form. And that's really, and it's not just mathematics, I think. Although this problem this type of problem, appears regularly throughout mathematics, and I think it's because it does represent something, that people have to do, and no matter what the situation is, whether it's mathematics or not, okay? These kind of multi-step problems where you're drawing information from different places, putting it all together, making a final product, and then stating your answer. Okay, and so I'm just saying that I think, if you're getting stuck in, and thinking, oh, this is kind of a long problem, I don't really want to do this, this never goes away. Even if you stop taking mathematics, even if you stop going to school, these things, this type of thing never goes away. And that's why I think it's good to practice it and to ideally get better at it. Okay, let's find the slope for this one. Let's see, I'll start with the 6 on top, 6 minus 2. That means I have to start with the -1 on the bottom. -1, -1. Okay, on top we get 4, on the bottom we get -2, and so our slope is going to be -2. And I have to get out of the habit of circling everything that I come up with here. I only want to circle my final answer. All right, so now let's write the equation y equals -2x plus b. And now we'll plug in these points. And it doesn't matter which one you plug in, you'll get the same answer either way. I'll plug in the 2 here and the 1 for the x. So 2 equals -2 plus b. Move the 2 over here. B equals 4. And so now we've got our equation. Y equals -2x plus 4. Okay. problem 18. We've got the points 4, 12, and 7, 5. All right, so first we want to find the slope. I'll do 12 minus 5 on top, 4 minus 7 on the bottom. So that'll give me 7 on top, negative 3 on the bottom, and that's all we can do with that. If you want to make it a decimal, it'll be negative 2.3 repeating with the bar over the 3. Let's see. So y is going to be negative 7/3 x plus b. Now, let's plug in our x and y values. 5 for the y, 7 for the x. So 5 is negative 49 over 3 plus b. As a decimal, this would be, what, like negative 16.3 repeating. So we have to add 49 over 3 to both sides. So here, so this is 15/3, right? 15 divided by 3 is 5. So 15/3 and 49/3 looks like it's going to be 64 over 3. And as long as that's in lowest terms, you can just leave it like that. You know, we can say y equals negative 7/3 x plus 64 over 3, and there we go. Okay. This is, if you did this in decimals, this one would be, what, 21.3 repeating. So you could also call it negative 2.3 repeating x plus 21.3 repeating. That's also equivalent to this correct answer right here. They're both equally correct. All right. Let's keep moving. There's nothing wrong with getting non-whole numbers in your answers. It just, if you had to graph this one, it would make it a little bit tricky to graph, but I'm not asking you to graph it. And if you needed to graph it, here's 2 whole number points right here that you could use. It's just that the slope and the y-intercept turn out not to be whole numbers. Okay, let's see here. Problem 20. We're working with the points negative 3, 5, and 2, 0. Okay, so same scenario. We'll find the slope, 5 minus 0 over negative 3 minus 2. So 5 on top, negative 5 on the bottom. That says our slope is negative 1. All right, so y is negative 1x plus b. I'll put the 0 in for the y and the 2 in for the x. And then add the 2 to the other side. So b equals 2. All right, so that means our equation, y equals negative x plus 2. And if you want to call that negative 1x, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people just leave it out, though. But they do include the negative sign. All right, problem 20. So let's look at 22. Negative 1, positive 16, and 4, negative 4. All right, so first off, we have to find the slope. Let's see, I'll start with the negative 4 on top, and then that means I have to start with the 4 on the bottom, right? So we do negative 4 minus 16 on top, and then I'll start with the 4 minus, right? This minus sign comes from the formula, this minus sign comes from the value of the x-coordinate. All right, so on top, we've got negative 20. On the bottom, 4 plus 1 is 5. And so our slope is negative 4. So that says the equation is going to be y equals negative 4x plus b. And then, again, it doesn't matter which one of these we choose. I'll put the 16 in for the y and the negative 1 in for the x. and then subtract 4 on both sides. And so b equals 12. So our equation is y equals negative 4x plus 12. And just so you see, it doesn't matter which one we plug in. I'll put the negative 4 in and put the 4 in for the x. Negative 4 is negative 16 plus b. Add the 16, and there you go, b equals 12. It doesn't matter which point you put in, but you have to put in a matching point, right? You can't choose the x from this one and the y from this one. It's just not going to work. All right, last one, problem 24. We've got 2 points here. 8, negative 3. And negative 2, positive 3. So our slope is going to be, let's see, negative, so I'll start with this negative 3 right here, subtract 3. Start with the 8, subtract negative 2. All right, so negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. That'll be 8 plus 2 on the bottom, which is 10. And again, if you've got a fraction, please reduce it. Negative 3/5. So our equation says y is negative 3/5 x plus b. I'll take this point right here, 3 for the y, negative 2 for the x. So 3 is positive 6/5 plus b. Subtract the 6/5 on both sides. What is this? Is 15/5. So this is going to give us 11/5. And if you do this with decimals, then you subtract the 1.2, and so that'll give you 1.8. B is 1.8. Let's see here. Did I make a mistake? Looks like I made a mistake somewhere. Oh yeah, 15 minus 6 is not 11. I make that mistake sometimes in calculating. It's 9. There we go. And 9/5 is 1.8. So our equation, y equals negative 3/5 x plus 9/5. Or just so long, you can call this negative 0.6x plus 1.8, or any combination of those numbers, so long as they're correct. Okay, so that's it for this assignment. I think we'll probably have a follow-up assignment to go along with this, and then we've got a couple more things to talk about in this unit before we move on. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.